where I can derive my inspiration. I came back from FAO, being very inspired. I thought I was the smartest one. And now I'm here. So the question is, how many Italians here? Oh, I can't make an Italian joke here. No, it's like, so you know, right? What do you tell, why did an Italian could not explain his actions to a policeman? Because he was handcuffed. Actions, right? So, you know how Italians and Indians can't get together, normally have a fight because of the cultural differences. You know, when you're growing as an Indian kid, right? This is going to be interesting for the translators. When I come running home and I'm hungry, I tell my mother I'm hungry. I don't know, didn't get the joke. What do Italians do like this, right? I'm hungry, right? And that's why a lot of the Indians are like always, why do Italians in an Indian traffic think they are hungry? They're actually cursing the traffic in many ways, right? Anyway, so I mean, so I just want to tell you to the previous panel who spoke about failures, I think I didn't agree to anything. What you said is practically, you know, my inspiration of failures come from institutions that irrespective, they have grown. Irrespective, they have failed so many times, they inspire me, the FAOs, the World Bank, right? Doesn't matter how they fail, but they still keep growing, right? There's somewhere, that's because we are not aggressive. We are passive people. We not only push the victims, in a sense, we tell our stories as if we victimize everything, right? Look at the poor, look at this, I need that, please help me. We need to change our language. Do you know how we should do it? Where's Peter? Holbrook? He's here? You know, I know Peter should. You know, Peter comes from England and he was talking about the politics of England, right? Now they have a prime minister, Rishi Sunak, who's from Indian descent, whose grandparents came from Africa. To my African brothers and sisters and Indians, we are slowly colonizing Britain. That's how you do it. And they elected us. While we threw them out, they elected us. So that's the true way of institutionalizing. And that's how we social enterprises should get into the companies that you're trying to criticize and change it from inside and institutionalize. And then you'll see the change of this world, right? Peter was not there, but that's how you start sending the Indians there to start the curry houses slowly, and suddenly you start the voting system, and the next thing is to make sure that the next girlfriend of Prince George, when he grows up, has to be Indian or African. And then we control the monarchy also. That's we start controlling that way, right? So the question is, jokes apart, no, that should be reality, but is we have to stop acting like victims. Because normally when you said, why isn't it racism when the World Bank or any other institution shows a poor lady, African lady, cooking under these conditions? That's where the perception comes from. And none of us stop it. A half-naked kid running around, or we need to help them save water. We don't stop it. That's where the perception comes. We need to be aggressive in what we do, showcase. And today what happens is, we always go with irrespective what we go with the begging bowl, right? We go with the begging bowl, oh, we need money, I'm doing good. No, I am doing what you should have done in the first place, right? We are the channels that can actually do it much better and doing it in a manner that is sustainable, that we future will not face the issues that we are going through it. In the last, I'll show 2 cartoons, which was done 55 years ago, which still depicts the fault is, let's put a mirror to ourselves. Let's put a mirror to ourselves when Indra Nui, the head of Pepsi, who resigned 3-4 years ago, after 25 or 30 years in Pepsi, said, I now need to do at least something good in my life. So what did you do for 25 years? What did you do for 25 years? And then we will call her as a chief guest. for harming this planet for 25 years. Right? We call people and beg the same people for money. Why are we telling the corporates do something good? Why not we tell them do something less harm, boss? Start changing the narrative of what we do. And I'm telling all my social enterprise friends, the moment you get a chance of a panel here or elsewhere, you are representing the sector, not yourself, not your organization. You have been sent by the millions of poor people who didn't have the chance to come here. So we need to talk about the sector. Sector so that other youngsters in the world get inspired. I want to be in the sector. Because today if I show that Selco has done 2 million household, why should a Brazilian kid get interested whether I did 2 million or 5 million? The Brazilian kid should be interested, how did you do that? And I will do better than you. That's when you have inspired somebody saying that we have created a model. It is massively flawed. Can you rectify it and do better than us? And that's when you succeed. I mean, the other depressing factor, Elena, was that Huda, my colleague, texted me today. Said, what do you want for lunch? I said, I'm not in office. She didn't realize that I was not in office for the last 3 days. So I'm not in a good mood, right? They don't even feel that I was not in the office for 3 days. And I'm not joking. They figured out when I was running the social and when I ran the foundation, whenever I was out of office, the sales of the organization did much better. Selco Foundation does better when I'm out. They have actually mapped, there's a map in the office which shows how better decisions are taken when I'm not in office. We social enterprises have so much of ego. The founders, the people, we are holier than thou, which is what we need to remove. How do we inspire that? Challenge the system. Challenge the system by not being an activist, but by the best form of protest is to create solutions. Create solutions and tell other youngsters, can you do better than me? And then replicate it across the world. Today, the main thing is replication. If I am not joking, during the Climate Week in the United States, during the UN Climate Week, I presented to an audience of much different nature of the world, a presentation of 1991, and people thought it was a new presentation. Which was scary, because can you imagine I'm presenting, I've got a new phone, iPhone 1.0. The phone generation why hasn't the development sector? From last 50, 60, 70 years, as a friend of mine says, many people live in poverty and many people live off poverty. Because poverty exists, we all have a salary. Right? We shouldn't thank the investors. We should not thank the funders, the philanthropy. We should thank the poor. Because they are poor, we are here. And that narrative has to change. And that can change only we start victimizing ourselves how great we are. Start creating solutions. Start creating solutions in a manner that when you're talking about community ownership, can we actually prove? Because we have such diverse experiences from Indonesia to Africa to India to everything else. But we get into these unnecessary beauty contests of Social Entrepreneur of the Year. How my proposal is better than yours. Your proposal is better than his. Even we succumb to the investors and the philanthropists, they'll ask, how is your proposal better than his? Aren't we both trying to reach the same goal? Why is it better than somebody else? Exactly, both of us should be funded in a manner. We should get away from this beauty contest, which is holding the industry back. If we truly want the industry to go forward, we start looking at collaborating in a manner, not about this collaboration that we write in proposals, I'm going to collaborate with A, B, but true collaborations where we are able to sit here and say this is how the sector should move. Doesn't matter whether you're sitting here, whether your funders are sitting there, or you're sitting in FO or the UNDP, because you are representing the poor. Why are we sucking up to a language just because a funder or a multilateral is sitting there? That's where the poor lose out. The poor lose out when we start become diplomatic and sitting here. The solutions. Don't you think for, just Twitter. When Twitter fired Parag Gupta, his salary negotiated on the day he got fired was $45 million. $45 million. To solar power all the 177 health centers in India to give reliable electricity so that women can deliver in proper is $200 million. So if 5 Parags got fired, India would be solar powered. That means money exists. Money exists. If it exists, why are we all sitting here and just with begging bowls? Not here, elsewhere, wherever I see entrepreneurs who are truly, I think we should remove the concept of social entrepreneur. We are the true entrepreneurs. The others are antisocial. This is how enterprises should be created, right? That's what enterprise is. Enterprise is about making sure that no one is harmed. People, planet, and everything else, right? And when we talk about financial sustainability, right? When we talk about financial sustainability, that's another way of when will you scale? What's your financial sustainability? You know which is the largest not-for-profit in the world? And you've all one way or the other have paid for it. Uber. Uber makes so much losses. Isn't it the largest not-for-profit? $2 billion of losses. While we have been criticized for grants, it's okay to be Uber and making losses, but grants for social enterprise? No. It's not sustainable. Uber is the largest not-for-profit. If you ask the head of Uber, what did the BBC article say about Uber? The CEO said, we will never make money. Can you imagine us telling to an investor? And people will still invest in Uber. And we are called leftist. They are called market. It's okay to be market like Uber, but for us, that $2 billion, right? This whole, how many airports in the world are profitable? JFK is not profitable. Heathrow is not. They never make money because they're not supposed to make money. It's the operational profit, right? It's an asset. When we fly, taking one of these airports, the indirect taxes somewhere pays for it, right? Poor need to build assets. We need long-term financing, philanthropic capital to create assets for the poor. Poor will never get out of poverty otherwise until you don't make assets. No roads in the world. The tolls that are collected on roads are for operational cost, not for capital cost. When any country builds an airport, right, in developing country, it takes 30-year finance at 0% interest from the World Bank. 0% interest. Had you given the same money to the rural entrepreneurs in Mali, Senegal, or rural India for rice mills, they have to pay 26 to 60% rate of interest. You and me will never be able to do business. Why is the same asset financing not happening for the poor? Because we as a collective audience are not pushing the real case for poor to get out of poverty. If World Bank is able to finance Rwanda, when I met the Prime Minister of Rwanda, at 9% dollar, then you take inflation, then the currency risk, then you look at profitability, is 32% for the poor Rwandan. How many of us will take a rice mill for 32% anywhere in the world, and we are a poor Rwandan lady who has no access to markets? So somewhere we are to be blamed. Because we all have the solutions. But what we are doing is, we are doing the solutions in a very, in a romantic, patronizing way. Rather than saying that these are the solutions that are game changers. These are the solutions that we together, we teach the other that you please do it better. How many business schools actually teach the processes that we do? They do the case studies. But we no longer want case studies, but processes of providing healthy water, better impact investment, better in terms of looking at solar lights in rural Rwanda. Where are the processes being stored? Why should we only look about case studies in India, elsewhere on Starbucks, Uber, Amazon? Why can't our case studies become the case studies? Actual case studies and not romantic case studies. Where the processes are taken and said, this is how you look at. That's how the next generation of youngsters will actually come up, right? We have to look at a mirror and start looking at not, today what is happening is we are all in a PhD and we are all doing class 2 homework and very happy about it. As if we are doing a grade 2 homework and we are happy about it. The challenges are very different out there. We have the voices, thanks to Elena for putting this up, but we have to get together and shake it to move the needle. Really, we want to move the needle? Really, as Peter said, by 2030, we are not going to meet the SDG goals? I don't know how many of you remember, 1992, we had Rio. 1997, we had the Kyoto Protocol. 2015, we had the Paris Agreement. 2012, we changed over from MDGs to SDGs. And now there's a team that is set up in the UN to talk about the next goal, what will happen from 2030 to 2045. We will just keep complaining, I'm sorry, and we have to be aggressive in our approach. There's going to be a new time limit. I like it. I like it when the climate change guys say, we're going to be net zero by 2080. It's like I'm going to bet with Salvatore for $1 million. He knows that I cannot give it. 2080. Who has seen 2080? Are you going to go to the poor in Mali or poor in Ghana and saying, don't worry, I'll solve your solutions by 2080? Be there. I'm writing a policy paper. Don't worry about it. And there's a famous cartoonist in India who actually brilliantly said that when the press guys were pushing this minister somewhere and said, wait, we've just put out the policy, we need to understand it first. That's where we are in, right? That's where what we are trying to do. How many of us actually are on the boards of these institutions? The true success is when social entrepreneurs like you are on the board of the World Bank, board of the FOO, don't let me romantically saying I'm on the board of this teeny little NGO somewhere. It's great, yes, but it's high time we started integrating ourselves, just like how we started integrating into Peter's society. I'm sorry, Peter is not here. But that's how we need to institutionalize ourselves. We cannot be sitting. Because in Indonesia, right? We're talking about Indonesia's poverty for ages. How many of us have actually solved it in many ways, right? We could have solved Sierra Leone, 2% electrified, highest maternal deaths in the world, 6 million population, total money, highest maternal deaths in the world, just needs $12 million to solve that issue. We could not find $12 million. Who is it to fault? We. Couldn't you think that we all could have got together and created Sierra Leone as a pilot country to look at maternal deaths using solar and other instruments and showcase to the world, this is how you replicate? We could not find $12 million. You know, the cost of missile to destroy one hospital is more than that. One. And we could not find it. Somewhere, we need to take more responsibility as social entrepreneurs to actually make that happen. So I know the topic, Elena gave me a topic to talk about. Long time ago, we had a common friend who said, if you're an expert of cow, and the topic is about family, you start talking about the family, you have 2 sisters and brother, we own a cow, and then start talking about the cow. This is from experience, youngsters. Just make sure, don't be worried what the topic is. The first 2 sentences has to be just on the topic, and the rest is what you speak about. Right? But, being in the, when 30 years ago when little Elena was in Japan. So, no, you only say, if you look at her, I think it's only little Elena. I don't know, she said 30. No, when we started as an experiment, and I hate the word founder, I hate the word co-founder, what does it actually mean, founded, co-founded, where you came from, what did you sacrifice? The poor sacrifice much more than us. 1,000 times more than us, right? So when my colleagues come into the office, sir, I'm overworked. Okay, I give them a piece of sheet of paper and say, go to the street vendors. If one street vendor says I'm overworked, I'll give you a month's holiday. The poor cannot say overworked. And how many of you have heard the poor said, I need a vacation? I'm tired, I need a break to go to a movie. Right? So we work on Saturdays. And primarily why we work on Saturdays? We said the day the poor get holidays, on Sundays, we will get Saturday holidays. The poor have to work every day so that our weekends are met. We are subsidized by the poor. We are completely subsidized. What you buy from China is subsidized labor. What we drive around in the developing world is subsidized by the drivers and the maid servants. The poor subsidize our living. If poor did not exist, do you think that the manufacturing base in the US would have shifted to China, then to Vietnam, and now looking at Africa? Let's not be fooled, saying that, we need to create investment opportunities in Africa because it's a great next stage. Let's skill them. Skill them in what? How to assemble phones? You know what's happening with this migration, for example, right? If a poor Ethiopian is actually migrating from Ethiopia to Italy, we might shout about what it is, but go and ask them. Typical example, I'll tell strongly, when people from northeast of India come to Bangalore and as guards on for a villa or for a software industry, I went and asked one of them, what did you do? He said, I was a rice breeder. From last 3 years, I have failed because there was droughts and floods. I could not feed my kids and have come to Bangalore as a security watchman. We're going to train him in some skill. Practically, you have de-skilled a rice breeder of 7 generations. If I had written his LinkedIn profile in English, he was an expert rice breeder. We are de-skilling the poor. We are de-skilling a cotton farmer from Ethiopia, and then he'll come to some country and work as something. You have de-skilled 7 generations. That's more dangerous. It's when we think, because we confuse between intellectual poverty and financial poverty. We confuse that. We think that people who are financially poor are intellectually poor. Why should I use the word that I use, I hear from the community? Why should I patronize by even saying that? Shouldn't that be the first step anyways? That I should have had the community in the first place, rather than giving a presentation, we take care of the community, we take care of this. Why? That's flawed. The old form of colonistic thinking in terms of philanthropy, we social entrepreneurs are using the same language we have become the colonists. And we are doing that presentations as if we are colonizing it. We know the best. No. We are also the elite. We are also the elite. If it was a true thing, the problems and the solutions would have been very, very different. Somewhere, we are still the middlemen or women, whatever it is. We are still that. And to truly create a structure in the rural is that where an entrepreneur or an innovator from rural Tanzania or rural India or rural London or in Italy should come out. It's the same issue. It's not the contest between developing and developed world. It's a contest between the developing part and the developed part. All countries have the developing part and the developed part. And we need to look at that separately, because the rich in the developing world take advantage of the poor in their own countries, and the poor in the developed part lose out because they belong to a developed country. True inclusion is when we start looking at poverty across. True, it need not be. Who cares whether it's a poor in Rome or poor in Mali? Why should, just because someone looks like white, should not be given that opportunities in rural Rome? Oh, it will be called a new political paradigm. Oh, it's racism. No. It is, we need to create solutions. We are like pushing the problem somewhere else. And that is why I think, I'm glad you did it in Todi, because somewhere we needed to be in a neutral place where we are able to reflect on ourselves and showcase that how do we get together, work together truly for the billions of poor people across. Doesn't matter in the UK. Like what ma'am said about the period poverty, how can we learn from that experience in Senegal? Or how can she learn from that experience from Senegal into UK? Why can't it be? Can you imagine, I'm sitting in Mars, I'm watching this Earth as you know, the Big Brother television series. I don't know why these guys are not allowed there. Why are they fighting? They cannot go because their color is different. They cannot be working here. Can you imagine? A Martian is completely confused about what this planet is. It's like a video game, right? Why are these two fighting? But they can't be in the same. What? There are two threats to this planet: poverty and climate change. Don't care whether you have an American passport, Singapore passport, Malian passport. If there is a wars from Mars, do you think, let's say, Italians first, let the WHO fight first, we all have to fight. But unfortunately, when we are here, we become very nationalistic, and we are nationalistic in our own organizations. I am doing better than him because I need to get Elena's money. So I have to debate with you, who have also given a proposal to Elena, and unfortunately by eating into each other. And that's where development sector has to show to the private sector. Today we are trying to follow the private sector model. Why? Why can't we chart our own path? We need to chart our own path where the private sector 20 years down the line should say, can we follow that sector? Why can't, we need to get private sector into us because to increase efficiency. Why is that thought process? Why? When two software industry people came and said, I want to volunteer for on Saturday, Sunday with Selco, I said, okay, can I volunteer on Saturday, Sunday in your organization to write codes? You'll say it's too complicated. Exactly, this is also as complicated. This is as complicated or more complicated. Why are we lowering ourselves? Last two cartoons, please, that I just want to show. This is a 50 years old cartoon by R.K. Lakshman. A poor man is standing in NASA. This is our man. He can survive without water, food, light, air, and shelter. When NASA wants to send somebody to Mars, we already have enough people in the world who can survive without. It's a satirical cartoon he made in 1970. Next one. This is what we all play. With the monitoring statistics, let's lower the figure so that X number of people are above poverty line anyway. Why do we work on the lives of the poor? So let's all thank the poor, because of whom we are all here. Thank you. Thank you so much.